Bonjour tout le monde, j'espère que vous allez bien et bienvenue en cet épisode spécial de NDS, entrevue exclusive avec nul autre que Daniel Carr. Oui, cette entrevue se fera en anglais, bien évidemment, mais faites-vous-en pas, on va s'occuper de la traduction pendant les questions avec Daniel. Ça va nous faire un grand plaisir. Déjà, c'est un honneur d'avoir Daniel Carr avec nous. Aujourd'hui, il va nous parler de tout son parcours au courant de sa carrière, que ce soit maintenant en Suisse avec Lugano et au courant de la Ligue nationale avec ses petits parcours à Washington, Vegas, Nashville, Montréal et même son parcours universitaire à Union College. Et aujourd'hui, pour m'aider, j'ai Guillaume Lemieux-Noel avec nous. Guillaume, salut, comment ça va?
Ça va bien toi-même.
Ben oui. Alors, as-tu hâte qu'on amène notre invité?
Écoute, je suis aussi excité que toi, Lauric, parce que Daniel Carr, ça a été mon joueur préféré pendant un certain temps avec les Canadiens de Montréal. J'ai été très, très triste quand j'ai su qu'il quittait le giron du Canadien. Donc, je suis super excité de pouvoir faire cette entrevue-là avec toi. Je suis vraiment content qu'on l'aille aujourd'hui.
Écoute, sans plus attendre, voici l'ancien numéro 43 des Canadiens de Montréal, Daniel Carr. Hey Daniel, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to be there, man. It's a great pleasure to have you. It's an honor to have you on the podcast.
I appreciate it.
So, the first question, Daniel, you were not drafted in the NHL. You played at Union College and received a contract from Marc Bergevin. How did you feel about signing this contract while being a free agent?
Yeah. Well, so I played my junior hockey in Alberta, and then I finished out in BC, and then I think I was like B listed or something like that for the draft my 18-year-old year, and then I never ended up getting drafted. Went to college, had a really good freshman year, didn't end up getting drafted, and for me, I wasn't really too concerned about it. Like my father was, he was a player agent for a few guys out of the University of Alberta and out of Edmonton. And his thing was always, if you're going to go to college and you come out as a free agent, you're actually in a better position than the guys picked in the later rounds. You kind of don't have to, you get to pick the situation you're going into versus, if you're just a later round pick, that's a situation you go into. So for me, I looked at it more as a fortunate thing. I got to pick the situation where I thought I could join an organization that appreciated what I did. I was very grateful to receive a contract offer from Montreal. And then, I kind of had it narrowed down to two teams on where I was going to go, and ended up going up and visiting Montreal and meeting with the whole staff, and meeting with Marc Bergevin, Rick Dudley, Larry Carrier, and those guys. And I remember, and we actually met with Jeff Molson and his family in the box during a playoff game. And I remember walking out of the box with my agent and just being like, yeah, I think this is where we're going to go. So, it was a really cool experience. And I think for me, we had won the national championship in NCAA the week before. So within 5 days or something like that, we won the national championship, and then I signed in Montreal, and it was a really cool week.
Donc, Guillaume, tu vas reprends-moi si je me trompe dans la traduction. D'ailleurs, I'll just do the traduction for the viewers who will see the podcast.
Yep.
Daniel a dit que ça n'a jamais été un joueur qui visait beaucoup à se faire repêcher. Il était souvent dans les catégories B du repêchage. Il a suivi les conseils de son père disant que c'est mieux d'être agent libre en sortant de l'université que d'être drafté. Comme ça, tu es maître de ton destin. Tu peux décider où aller. Il y avait deux équipes. Il avait fait des finalistes pour signer à deux équipes. Les Canadiens, il avait rencontré Jeff Molson, Marc Bergevin. Ils l'ont amené voir un match des séries à Montréal pour essayer de le convaincre. Et comme de fait, ça a marché. Daniel qui a dit qu'il est très content d'avoir signé avec les Canadiens. Guillaume, si tu veux compléter ou poser une autre question à Daniel, vas-y.
Daniel, I was wondering, you said NCAA National Championship and the week after going to a Montreal Canadiens playoff game. When you got into the Bell Center for the first time, going in a box, seeing how much energy there was inside that building, a lot of NHL players says that it's very special. Did you have the same feeling about the crowd? the energy, the building, the story there of the Montreal Canadiens, the oldest team in the NHL. How did you feel exactly going into the box for the first time?
Yeah, no, it was really special. I mean, I think that was the game that Montreal beat Tampa like 4-0 or something to I think it was to end the series or it was to go up in the series, or I can't exactly remember, but I just remember the energy in the building, and it was amazing. It was like there's nothing in hockey like going skating on the ice in the Bell Center, and even walking in as a fan. There's nothing like it, and it's such a special place and such a special hockey culture. And I think the history of the Montreal Canadiens is something amazing, and to have been a very small part of it throughout my career is something I'll always cherish.
Dans le fond, pour ceux qui nous écoutent, Daniel souligne juste que c'était pendant une série face au Lightning de Tampa Bay, soit pour prendre les devants ou pour remporter la série. Mais très heureux, là, Daniel, d'avoir pu vivre cette expérience-là, puis a senti justement l'énergie de la foule. Puis l'histoire du Canadien de Montréal également l'a convaincu, a signé là, avec le Canadien. Donc pour lui, c'est quelque chose qui est très bon pour lui et pour sa carrière.
So Daniel, I'll take you back in college for a little more questions. You said that you narrowed to 2 teams. Can you say who was the other one, and did you have interest from other teams? And did you have interest for the draft too?
Yeah, no, I had a really good kind of college career. I think I had 20 goals every year except my junior year, and so I had a couple options, and I was very grateful for those. And so I ended up going to Boston and going to Montreal to kind of see where I wanted to go, and like I said, ended up signing in Montreal. And it was one of those things that the grass wasn't going to be greener on the other side no matter what. So you kind of got to make it work wherever. And I think that's a really big thing in pro hockey, that the grass isn't greener on the other side. You got to make it green where you are, and that's. I was very grateful to be in Montreal. I was in a position where a lot of people appreciated my game, and it was an amazing experience for me.
And you said for you that the draft wasn't the best option. You wanted to be a free agent to choose where you wanted to go. But in your college years, is there some teams that shown you interest, even if you wanted to be a free agent?
Yeah, so like the way it works is like I think I went to college as a 18-year-old, so I was a true freshman. So out of my freshman year, I could have got drafted as well. And this, it didn't happen, and that's okay. I had, no, I didn't even have an agent at the time. There was no pushing to try to get drafted. There was no calling teams like, go look at this guy. There was nothing like that. It was just, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Got to make the best of it wherever you are. I think that was, and then as I was coming, I had an offer to leave after my second year to go pro, and I ended up staying and playing the next 2 years in college. And it was kind of, like I said, we won the national championship. The guys I went to school with are still some of my best friends, and I talk to them daily. So I think the experience for life for me, and I graduated with my undergraduate in economics, and I think it was just a great position to start pro hockey from.
Alors, Daniel qui dit quand il a hésité en 2 équipes, c'était soit avec le Canadien ou les rivaux de toujours, les Bruins de Boston. Il a dit que dans tous les cas, c'était pas une question le terrain va être plus vert d'un côté ou de l'autre. C'est à toi de le rendre plus vert. Et l'offre du Canadien, on dirait que ça l'a convaincu pour signer avec le Canadien de Montréal. Il est toujours très content de l'avoir fait. J'ai même demandé s'il y avait des équipes qui ont demandé de l'intérêt pendant son année, même s'il ne voulait pas être repêché, il voulait être agent libre. Il a dit que oui, il y en a eu, mais il voulait rester à l'université. Il a même eu une offre pro après sa 2e année, Guillaume, si je ne me trompe pas, de joueur de hockey collégial. Mais il a décidé de rester à l'université et ça lui a donné un diplôme en économie pour Daniel. Vas-y, Guillaume.
Daniel, you actually played with Shane Gostisbehere. Did you have a pretty good relationship with him, even though you guys went on separate teams? You went to Philadelphia, you went to Montreal. Did you guys still talk to this day?
Yeah, I haven't talked to Shane as much lately. I think when we'd always see each other, so we'd go for dinner night before games and stuff like that. I haven't talked to him as much as of late. I think, I'm really happy to see he's doing so well in Arizona. He had a great start in Philadelphia, and it was kind of I think that the change of scenery was really good for him, and I'm really happy to see how well he's doing in Arizona. And it's been, just as like a college alumni, you end up being kind of close with the guys and rooting for each other. And I think I'm really happy for him, and it's seems like he's in a good spot, and hopefully it keeps going for him.
Dans le fond, ce que Daniel explique, c'est que même s'ils ne se sont pas parlé récemment, lui et Shane Gostisbehere ont gardé contact, ont été souvent souper ensemble avant des matchs là, dans la Ligue nationale, prennent régulièrement des nouvelles. Puis ça, c'est pas juste avec Shane Gostisbehere, c'est aussi avec d'autres anciens coéquipiers de Union College. Donc souvent, ce qu'ils disent college alumni, les anciens joueurs universitaires qui jouent ensemble, gardent relativement contact énormément, puis s'encouragent à toujours aller plus loin. Donc dans ce cas-ci, content de voir là, du côté de Daniel que Shane va très bien avec sa carrière là, qui a commencé à Philadelphie maintenant, qui est en Arizona. Donc, les gens continuent de prendre des nouvelles là, après qu'ils aient joué ensemble.
So Daniel, when the Montreal Canadiens called you up to play games for them, you chose the number 43. Is there a history behind this number? Is there something with this?
The year before, I was 94 out of training camp, and I mean, I thought that was awesome, being from Edmonton with Ryan Smith and stuff. And I think Andrew Ghetto the year before was like 58 or something like that too. And we didn't really get a choice. We walked, showed up to training camp the next year. My number was 43, and I went and asked one of the equipment managers that I was close with. I was like, "What happened?" He goes, Burge walked down and said, "All right, what number is Carr?" He said 94. He goes, "Okay, what number is he going to be now?" And he looked at the list and he goes, 43. So that's how I was number 43. So I think it was one of those funny stories. And then the year later, when I made the team at camp, they actually asked me if I wanted to change numbers. And I was like, no, I like this. It's good. So I kept it. Yeah.
Alors, j'ai demandé à Daniel s'il y avait, certains joueurs ont des histoires avec leur numéro voulant les garder. Il a dit que son numéro 43, c'était vraiment juste une imposition de l'équipe qui n'a pas voulu changer une fois qu'il a fait l'équipe. Oui, au camp d'entraînement, l'année d'avant, il y avait le numéro 94. Il aime bien l'histoire du numéro 94 derrière avec les grands joueurs qui l'ont porté. Mais une fois qu'il a fait l'équipe, il s'est fait demander si tu voulais le numéro qu'il avait eu. Il a dit 94. Il a dit, dis-moi sur ma liste, j'ai le numéro 43, le veux-tu? Il a dit oui, je vais le prendre. Il s'est fait offrir de le changer. Il a dit non. C'est l'histoire du numéro 43 qui lui fait encore sourire aujourd'hui, comme on a vu.
Daniel, you had a Mario Lemieux beginning to your career, first goal, first chef in Carolina. Can you walk us through that goal you scored wraparound? Of all goals against Carolina.
So, yeah, I think it was just, like, for me, one of the probably the most special part is like my parents and brother got to be there, and that was I didn't even know I was playing till the morning, so they kind of just took a guess and came, and I was very grateful to have them there. And I think on the kind of just one of those plays, just I take the puck to the net. You never know what's going to happen, and that's kind of been one thing that's always been in my career. And I think being on the ice with, I think CT was out there, Flinner was out there, who I still talk to the odd time, and he played in Switzerland a little bit, and so we talked quite a bit here when I was here that year. And then I think Subi and Markov were on the ice too, so that was pretty cool. And I think one of the funniest parts about it for me that I'll always remember is, like, I think there was TV timeout a minute or two later. And being from Edmonton, I always grew up watching Tom Gilbert playing for the Oilers. And Gilbo was on the team then, and he just skated by me. He goes, well, that's one way to start. I think that for me, like, just watching Gilbo in Edmonton was pretty cool.
PK Subban was the first coming in to congratulate you after the goal. Was that weird? Like, I'm celebrating PK Subban, my first NHL goal. He's coming in. Like, was that weird for you?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And, I think, like I think Subi's a good guy, and, he was always super kind to me and always had the time of day for me. But I think one of the things that was like really cool for me was like Marky, like he's a legend, and I think him being out there, and that was really cool. And, Marky was, uh, like I always had the time of day for me, and he always talked to me, always kind of gave me his attention, trying to help me. And I think for going forward, that was really cool. And like it was a really special moment. And like I said, for my parents to be there was just awesome.
Donc, on parlait du premier but de Daniel Carr dans la Ligue nationale à sa première présence sur la patinoire, un peu à la Mario Lemieux. Donc, ce qui explique, c'est que c'est quand même particulier parce qu'il n'était même pas sûr de jouer le matin. Donc, il y a eu la nouvelle un peu plus tard dans la journée. Ses parents, son frère sont venus le voir jouer également. Puis, marquer ce but-là devant sa famille, c'était quand même spécial. Puis, ensuite, je lui ai demandé justement, là, sur son but, sur la patinoire, il y avait Piqué Souban. Il y a aussi Tom Gilbert qui était là avec le Canadien à ce moment-là, un joueur qu'il avait vu jouer à Edmonton quand il était jeune. Maintenant, son coéquipier. Je lui ai demandé si ça faisait étrange un peu là, d'avoir Piqué Souban qui vient célébrer avec lui son premier but dans la Ligue nationale. Puis c'est ça qu'il expliquait. C'est que il a vraiment eu des bons coéquipiers à Montréal, puis il a reçu beaucoup d'aide de la part de ces joueurs-là. Puis il a souligné que Piqué Souban, justement, Gilbert aussi, là, étaient vraiment des joueurs pivots dans cette équipe-là, puis qui l'ont pris sous son aile, qui l'ont aidé. Là, donc, ça a été quand même un très beau passage.
Là. In your first in Carolina for your first game, who welcomed you in the team when you were called up to go there? Who helped you to be in the locker room, be less stressed for your first game?
Well, I got called up about a week before, and then I was scratched the first 2 games I was there. And I think remember Torrey Mitchell being hurt for one of my first games, or hurt the first day, and Torrey's awesome. He's so funny, and it just how he treated me, and like guys like Gallagher that I've known Gally since I was 5. So those guys all kind of made me feel very welcome, and just being around the year before for playoffs and going on the road with the team, I think I knew a few guys a little better than I knew others, and just like having those relationships just kind of like welcomed you. And I think the thing in pro that's a little different is a lot of guys everyone's been there getting called up, and everyone's been there getting sent down, and they know how hard it is. And I think all the guys have a lot of respect for it, and just they get it, and it's difficult. So everyone, when you walk in the door, is always saying hi and welcoming. And, they try to make you feel at home, because you're not going to be your best if you're walking on eggshells all the time.
Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel comment il sentait sa première journée en Caroline, qu'on pourrait dire, qui a souhaité la bienvenue dans l'équipe, qui l'a aidé à avoir moins de stress pendant sa première journée pour son premier match dans la Ligue nationale de hockey. Il a dit, il se souvient qu'il s'est fait scratch, dans le fond, qu'il s'est fait envoyer sur la passerelle pour les 2 premiers matchs, ça faisait 1 semaine, qu'il s'avait fait rappeler. Et c'est à cause d'une blessure à Torrey Mitchell. Et comme on voit, Daniel a bien aimé Torrey Mitchell, qui l'a décrit comme un gars très plaisant à côtoyer. Sinon, Brendan Gallagher aussi l'a aidé. Eux qui se connaissent, il le connaît depuis qu'il y a 5 ans, Brendan Gallagher. Donc, c'était vraiment un beau travail d'équipe. Il a dit le fait aussi que les joueurs savent ce qui t'arrive. Le fait de se faire rappeler, de se faire descendre, c'est des choses que la majorité des joueurs ont déjà vécues. Donc, ça crée un lien plus fort entre eux, même si c'est un petit nouveau qu'il y a dans l'équipe. Donc, c'était ça pour sa première journée dans la Ligue nationale de hockey.
Daniel, first game at the Bell Center, you visited the year before, and first game at the Bell Center, being now not in the box but on the bench. How did you feel getting your first shift on the ice in front of fans? The noise, the atmosphere?
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said before, there's just nothing like stepping on the ice at the Bell Center. It doesn't matter if it's your first time, or it's something special. And I think, like, for me, it was just, like I said, like, you get goosebumps. You get goosebumps in there. It's an amazing place, and it was just such an amazing experience and so much fun. And I just there's some special.
Do you remember your first goal at the Bell Center?
Yes. I don't think my first year I scored at the Bell Center. I think I scored all my goals on the road. I think I scored my second year. I think maybe it was my first game at the Bell Center the second year or something like that. I had been scratched like 10 or 11 in a row. We went on I got scratched the third game of the year and then we went on like a 10-game or 11-game winning streak. And so I was they weren't changing the lineup, and I get it. That's kind of, you're winning, don't change it. And then I think I got back in and I tipped one in for Markey, and I think that was my first goal at the Bell Center. Yeah. I still remember it though. Yeah. Against LA. Yeah.
Against LA. Yeah, that's a pretty good team to score against, that's for sure. Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel s'il se rappelait de son premier match au Centre Bell. Puis dans le fond, ce que Daniel il dit, c'est que même que ce soit ton premier ou ton 20e, tu t'habitues jamais à jouer au Centre Bell. Il n'y a rien comme embarquer sur la glace du Centre Bell. Puis ça, je pense que je peux certainement imaginer, là, je ne suis pas de ton côté, Lauric, mais de mon côté aussi, là, je peux imaginer qu'on ne s'habitue jamais.
Non.
Puis je lui ai demandé aussi à propos de son premier but là, au Centre Bell dans l'uniforme du Canadien. Puis Daniel, effectivement, se rappelle, là, c'était face aux Kings de Los Angeles à sa deuxième année avec le CH. Donc, le feeling doit être assez spécial.
Oh, je te rejoins là-dessus, ça doit être bien le fun. Daniel, in the locker room, there's always 1, 2, 3 funny guys in the locker room. Who were the locker room clowns during your time in Montreal?
Torrey Mitchell.
Torrey Mitchell?
Yeah.
Did you do some pranks with him? Was there pranks in the locker room to other players?
He's just a funny guy, like all around, and yeah, I think and nothing particularly sticks out. Just kind of his general demeanor and making everybody laugh, and he's just a funny guy.
Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel c'était qui le clown dans le vestiaire. On sait que chaque équipe a tout le temps d'un, 2 ou 3 clowns dans le vestiaire. Il a répondu, comme vous avez vu, sans hésiter, que c'était Torrey Mitchell qui faisait rire toute l'équipe au complet, dont lui. J'ai demandé s'il a joué quelques tours ou si Torrey Mitchell avait joué quelques tours au gars dans le vestiaire. Il a dit non, pas nécessairement. C'est juste comme le gars qui faisait rire le vestiaire au complet, dans le cas de Torrey Mitchell.
Daniel, did you feel like a kid getting inside the Montreal Canadiens locker room for the first time, seeing the stalls of Carey Price, of Markov, Subban, Plekanec, like getting that first step inside the locker room after the doors? How did you?
Yeah, you do, but at the same time, you got a job to do there, and I think you got to kind of balance the two and make sure you're ready to play your best, because that's how you stay, or that's how you work your way up a little bit. And so I think it's a bit of a balancing act. You got to make sure you're ready to play and kind of go from there. And I think that was a bit of a, you got to be ready to execute and make plays, or it's just you're not going to be there long. So I think that it's a bit of a balancing act, and you got to make sure you're ready to play.
Donc, Daniel, ce qu'il souligne, c'est que je lui ai demandé, en fait, s'il se sentait comme un enfant quand il est rentré pour la première fois dans le vestiaire du Canadien, avec les casiers, justement, de Price, de Markov, de Subban, Plekanec, et j'en passe. Puis ce que Daniel explique, c'est que oui, mais il faut que tu trouves un équilibre à travers les deux, parce que tu as un travail à faire. Quand tu rentres dans ce vestiaire-là, c'est que tu es déjà rendu, là. Donc, tu as un travail à faire, puis c'est de balancer entre les deux. Je pense que Daniel a profité de son moment, justement, où il est rentré dans le vestiaire, mais comme il dit rapidement, tu as un travail à faire, il faut que tu commences. Donc, c'est sûr que je pense pas que ces joueurs-là peuvent s'attarder très, très, très longtemps à ce moment-là d'être à travers le vestiaire, puis wow. Donc, c'est sûr que, bon, un équilibre entre les deux, comme il dit.
There was some controversial things with Marc Bergevin when he was sent by the Montreal Canadiens, when he was relieved by his duties around by the alumni, saying that they weren't able to talk to the players because of the Bergevin and Paul Wilson thing. How did you felt about it? Was it still a thing when you were there?
No, Mark Bergevin's the best general manager I had.
Oh, okay.
So Berge was intense, but with Berge, especially as like a depth player, and with Berge, you could work your way up. Like no one was pinholed into this is where we have you in the organization. No matter what you do, this is where you're staying. And with Berge, you could work your way up. You could work your way. I did it my third year I in the organization. I played my way down real quick. But you could work your way up in the organization. No one was set where they were. No one was, and you had to work your way up, and there was always competition. And as a player, for me, I loved it. I think Berge was always super fair with me, always super honest. And like when I got sent down, looking back, at the time you're mad or whatever. But looking back 6 years later now, like everything was always very fair. So to me, like Berge did a great job. I always had a ton of respect for Berge. And he gave me some great advice. And, I think for me, like when I had some personal things going on away from hockey, Berge was there for me and a ton of support. So like, I have nothing but the best to say about Marc Bergevin.
Alors, j'ai demandé à Daniel, on se souvient de la fameuse controverse avec les anciens de la Ligue nationale de hockey, du Canadien, entre autres, comme quoi il ne faut pas rentrer dans le vestiaire. Guillaume, tu me reprendras si j'oublie quelque chose pendant la traduction. Daniel a dit que Marc Bergevin était le meilleur DG qu'il a eu. Une des raisons pourquoi, c'est parce que il traitait tout le monde de la manière égale, que ce soit Carey Price, que ça fait longtemps qu'il est dans la Ligue nationale, ou dans ce cas-là, Daniel, qui se faisait rappeler ou envoyer dans la Ligue américaine souvent. Il les traitait de manière égale. Il n'y avait personne qui avait le droit de s'asseoir sur ses lauriers aussi. Donc, c'est vraiment un traitement égal envers ses joueurs. Marc Bergevin, comme on l'a pu constater, était très proche de ses joueurs. Daniel Carr a dit que quand Carr allait pas bien ou des relations plus dures en dehors du vestiaire, Bergevin était toujours dans les premiers à venir l'aider, à lui demander comment ça allait, tout ça. Donc, Marc Bergevin, pour Daniel Carr, était le meilleur DG qu'il a eu au courant de sa carrière dans la Ligue nationale de hockey.
Daniel, did you have one relation in particular with the next Montreal Canadiens? There was a lot of alumni around the team. Is there one ex-Canadian alumni who stood out for you, talking to him, maybe giving you some advice?
I don't know in particular if I have a great answer for that. I think someone that's I know he's still around, and I don't know, like I think I don't know if I have a great answer for that. I think Marty Lapointe was director of player development when I was there, and then moved up to assistant GM by the time I left. I think Marty always had some really good advice, and like I said, it was very similar to Berge. It was very honest, and so I don't know if I have a great answer for that. And like I said, I think for the depth players, when you're kind of in and out, you're not there as much. You're not around like the kind of the big guys are with all the alumni, and so I think Marty was great, but I don't know if I have a great answer for that.
Donc, dans le fond, ce que Daniel explique, c'est que ce que je lui ai demandé, est-ce qu'il y avait une relation en particulier qui l'a marqué par rapport aux anciens Canadiens. Il a nommé le nom de Martin Lapointe, mais autrement, avait peut-être pas une réponse plus précise pour nous du fait que Daniel a fait beaucoup de up and down dans l'organisation du Canadien, donc était peut-être moins là que d'autres joueurs plus réguliers. Donc, il a mentionné Martin Lapointe, mais dans d'autres cas, là, a peut-être pas la meilleure des réponses pour cette question-là.
And like to add to that, I should add Ramage in there too. Like Rammer was great. He was also in that player development role and also an alumni, and he was awesome, like helping with whatever you wanted. And his phone was always on for everybody, and beyond hockey too, like his life, just with life, he was just a very very much an open book and how to help you and how to, he tried to help you with anything he could. And he was great as well.
Donc, Daniel qui discutait de Ramage, qui est aussi un ancien du Canadien, a fait partie du développement du CH. Puisque Daniel dit, c'est dans le fond, c'est qu'il était très disponible, téléphone toujours ouvert pour répondre aux questions. Donc, c'est un autre joueur là, qui a acheté du côté des anciens.
Daniel, this week, John Scott said on the podcast that the best chirp he ever heard was why Claude Giroux said to the Buffalo Sabres coach, "We need a goal. Put John Scott on the ice. Will help us to score a goal." What's the best chirp you heard on the ice or said to an opponent on the ice?
I remember I was playing in Hamilton, and I don't remember who it was. When I was playing for the Bulldogs, we had Jake Dowell on our team, and I can't remember who on the other team it was. We were playing the Marlies, and one of their guys had just came back from a 20-game suspension for doping, and Dowell stood up and goes, guys, don't fight that guy. He's on steroids. I remember just rolling. I've stolen it too, because I remember I was playing for Chicago in the American, or I was playing for Milwaukee in the American League. We were playing Chicago, and that Zykov had just got sent down, and he was in a scrum with one of our guys. And I grabbed our guy. I was like, "Hey, be careful. He's on steroids."
That's perfect.
Yeah. Dowell was a funny guy, too. He was tough.
Ça, j'ai demandé. Donc, on a vu au courant de la semaine le fameux chirp, comme on dit en anglais, de Claude Giroux qui avait dit au coach des Sables de Buffalo pendant une intermission de mettre John Scott sur la glace pour pouvoir marquer plus de buts quand John Scott jouait pour les Sables de Buffalo. Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel le meilleur chirp qu'il avait entendu sur la glace. Puis il a dit que c'était dans un match quand il jouait à Hamilton face aux Marlies. Et il ne se souvient plus du nom du joueur, malheureusement. Mais le joueur revenait d'une suspension de 20 matchs, ce qui est assez énorme.
Une grosse suspension, un match.
Oui, c'est gros. C'est une très bonne suspension. Et le joueur et un des joueurs des Marlies a dit, les gars, battez-vous pas contre lui, il est sur des stéroïdes, si c'est bien ça que j'ai compris. Mais
c'est son coéquipier qui a dit ça à un joueur des Marlies pour le viser un peu indirectement, puis je trouve ça juste parfait, là, cette réponse.
Puis Daniel qui a dit qu'il a réutilisé ce chirp-là plus tard dans un match face, je pense, à Chicago dans la Ligue américaine, si j'ai bien compris, Guillaume. Il a dit qu'il l'a bien utilisé, puis ça y a fait bien sourire de l'entendre, ce chirp-là.
Yeah. Daniel, you played in Hamilton, you played in St. John's, you played a little bit in Laval. Can you tell us which of the three cities you preferred while playing in the American League?
Oh, they're all very different. I loved Hamilton. Hamilton was once you kind of got used to it, like Hamilton, like downtown's a tougher part, but there's some amazing places outside of Hamilton. That year I lived with Mike Condon, and we had like Drayson Bowman around, and we had a really good group, and we had a good time. And by the latter half of the year, I started to play a lot more and started to score a lot more, and it was a lot of fun. St. John's a great city. It's just far away. Like I remember at mile 1, there's signs everywhere in Germany or everywhere in the world. Sorry. And I was closer to Germany than I was to home in Edmonton. So it's a beautiful place. The people are amazing. It's just a long ways away. And then Laval was great. I had the same apartment that year when I got called up too, because I stayed out of trouble in Montreal I didn't go out very much just because you got a job to do, and there's a lot of trouble to get in. So they let me live. I lived in Old Port. I just took the metro to the rink every day, and so I was at the rink in 25 minutes and lived downtown. It was great, and the fans are great in Laval, and so they all had their positives, and it was it's a really cool life experience.
Did some fans recognize you in the metro?
Yeah, but no one.
Picture.
I was playing for Laval, and I'd put my headphones on and just kind of sit in the back or stand in the back and hang out. And time, but it was no one was ever disrespectful or anything like that.
Ce que j'ai demandé à Daniel, dans le fond, c'était s'il avait préféré une ville en particulier parce qu'il a joué et à Hamilton, à St. John's, puis il a joué un petit peu à Laval aussi. Ce que Daniel dit, c'est qu'il y a du positif dans les trois. Les trois avaient vraiment leur côté vraiment le fun. Puis Daniel, ce qu'il expliquait, c'est que quand c'était devenu le Rocket de Laval, Daniel, lui, avait gardé son appartement au Vieux-Port de Montréal. Donc, il prenait le métro pour aller à Laval à tous les jours. Puis j'ai demandé à Daniel, est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui venaient te voir, te demander des autographes, des photos? Ce que Daniel explique, c'est que les gens ont toujours été très respectueux. Daniel faisait ses petites affaires, puis il était dans le métro, il se faisait pas trop achaler avec ses écouteurs. Donc, ça, je suis content de l'entendre de Rick parce que autant, puis ça, c'est devenu quelque chose dans le sport professionnel, les gens sont devenus peut-être un peu trop intenses à mon goût des fois, là, certaines demandes qui sont vraiment, vraiment intenses. Je suis content de voir que, bon, il y a des partisans qui sont encore capables vraiment de respecter la ligne, que okay, c'est le fun de voir un joueur de hockey professionnel en public, là, mais des fois, quand justement, bon, il est dans ses affaires, il est dans sa bulle, bon, de ne pas se faire déranger. Là.
Ben oui, puis avant de continuer avec ma question, ça me donne aussi un contraste. Je ne sais pas si tu te souviens, mais Yaroslav Halak, quand il a fait le contraste entre Montréal et Saint-Louis, il a dit à Montréal, t'es pas capable d'aller sortir faire ton épicerie. Il a envoyé sa femme, puis il est rendu à Saint-Louis. Il était capable. Saint-Louis, on s'entend que c'est pas la plus grosse ville de hockey, même s'ils ont une bonne fanbase, mais c'est pas la ville de hockey. Et le fait que Daniel était capable de prendre le métro sans avoir une panoplie de fans qui prend pour une rockstar et qui respecte le fait qu'il était capable d'être dans sa bulle et tout ça. C'est bien fun d'entendre ça. Daniel, fast forward to the July 1st, 2018. You were a free agent and you signed for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Was there some tractations with Marc Bergevin to sign a contract, but it never felt good and you wanted to go elsewhere? What was your discussions with Mark and why Vegas?
Yeah, there was lots. We went back and forth in Montreal for a long time. It was a little bit of a tricky summer. I think I think hindsight's 2020 always, and it's easy to sit back here and at 31 and think about the decisions you made when you were younger, and but I think, like I said, I always appreciated Berge. I always appreciated what he did, and they made me a really good offer, and I ended up just wanting to try somewhere else. And I'd been in and out of the lineup for so many years, and that year I had really good numbers, and I ended up signing in Vegas, and I don't know, K-Camp didn't have a great camp. Ended up getting sent to the American League, and actually had a great year. I think I was MVP of the American League, and I was leading the American League in scoring by like 20 points before I got hurt. And, it was a bit of an adventure, but it was a kind of a great life experience, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. I think like I said, hindsight's 2020. If you ask me at 31, I would have made a different decision, but I got to learn a lot about life and a lot about adversity, and a lot about sticking with it. So it was kind of one of those things. Like I said, I think it's to sit here at 31. It's a different situation. But that year in Chicago, I got to play for Rocky Thompson, which was awesome. That he's a great coach. He's now assistant in Philly, and learned a lot from him, and got to be kind of the leader of the team, or one of the leaders of the team, and got to play a lot of great hockey. So it was a lot of fun.
Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel d'avancer au 1er juillet 2018 quand il a signé avec les Golden Knights de Las Vegas. J'ai demandé est-ce qu'il y avait des pourparlers avec Bergevin, est-ce qu'il y avait des raisons spécifiques du pourquoi tu étais agent libre. Il a dit que oui, il y a eu des pourparlers. Ça a tout le temps été très respectueux avec Marc Bergevin. Il n'y a jamais eu de manque de respect ou autre. C'est juste qu'il a décidé de s'en aller de Montréal pour avoir un autre défi ailleurs. Guillaume, tu me reprendras si jamais c'est pas une bonne traduction, mais il a juste voulu un autre défi ailleurs. En plus, il a dit qu'il y avait eu des bons chiffres cette saison-là, donc il voulait s'essayer ailleurs. Et Vegas, il a donné une offre, il a décidé d'y aller, et ça lui a vraiment donné une bonne expérience de vie, comme il l'a dit, à 31 ans. Il dit peut-être, maintenant 31 ans, avec du recul, peut-être qu'il aurait pris une décision autre, Mais il dit qu'il regrette pas, puis il a vraiment aimé ça, même s'il n'a pas connu le meilleur camp d'entraînement. Il a bien aimé le fait d'aller à Vegas.
Daniel, we spoke about pranks a little earlier, and you played a 6 game with Vegas. You had your camp also. Did you see a little bit Marc-Andre Fleury? Did he prank you in the locker room, or did you see one of his legendary pranks?
No, I wasn't there. I wasn't in Vegas long enough to kind of finish my cup of coffee even. So.
Donc, je demandais à Daniel s'il a été témoin là, d'une blague de Marc-André Fleury, mais Daniel n'a pas été là assez longtemps là, avec les Golden Knights pour vraiment boire quelque chose. Donc.
On a more serious note about Vegas, we'll see if you were there enough for a long time enough to answer these questions. But we remember in the first year of the Golden Knights, there was a mass shooting in Vegas the year before you choose to go there, and the Golden Knights organization was very involved in the community and put them closer to the population. This feeling of being one of the fans was still there the year you joined them?
Yeah, I think like Vegas is like the Golden Knights are Vegas's team, right? Like they're the fans in Vegas love it. And then like the local population of Vegas, like that's their main supporters. Like it's not the tourists coming in and out. It's like the building's packed, but it's packed with people from Vegas. So like the community really rallies around that team, and like the other thing too is like the players specifically on the team in Vegas, I think are a lot of really good people. Like guys I played with in Chicago, like Keegan Kolesar is just a good person. And then like a lot of the other guys that were there, like I got along with them really well, but I just give Coley as an example because I played basically the whole year in Chicago with him. So, Nick Hagg's a good guy. It's like they have some good people there that, and then like the staff when I was there, like I was there for, like I said, not even a cup of coffee. And I still talk to the old media relations guy, Sage Salmons, and like they just had some really good people around that kind of made that organization click together right away.
Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel, on se souvient toute l'année avant qu'il rejoint Vegas, il y a eu une tuerie très majeure à Vegas pendant un festival qui avait tué plusieurs personnes. J'ai demandé si, on se souvient aussi des Golden Knights qui s'avaient rapproché beaucoup de la communauté pour revenir en aide aux personnes et tout ça. J'ai demandé si l'année qu'il rejoint Vegas et l'année après, ça se sentait encore cette proximité-là entre l'équipe et les fans. Il a dit que ça se sentait encore aujourd'hui, puis il a dit, aujourd'hui, au moment où est-ce qu'il était là-bas, puis il a dit ce qui est le fun aussi à Vegas, c'est pas juste l'organisation qui sont des bonnes personnes, mais aussi les joueurs. Il dit les joueurs sont de très, très bonnes personnes, dont Keegan Kolesar, avec qui il a joué à Chicago dans la Ligue américaine. Il a dit que c'est une très bonne personne. Il a nommé un autre joueur aussi avec qui il jouait à Chicago. Il a nommé des joueurs avec qui il a joué dans la Ligue américaine parce que, comme il dit, il n'a pas été à Vegas assez longtemps pour boire au complet sa tasse de café. Donc, il a été. Il va avec les joueurs avec qui il a côtoyé dans la Ligue américaine. Il a dit que c'était une très belle organisation. Il parle encore aux relationnistes des Golden Knights aujourd'hui, qui permet à la formation d'être autant connue aujourd'hui.
Daniel, before your free agency, the Golden Knights played the Stanley Cup final. Was that one of the reasons you said maybe Vegas would be interesting for me, being a young formation, new organization with a lot of fans, and maybe a window of opportunity who was already there?
I think for me it was, I had some history with one of the guys higher up in the organization, knew me really well as a player, and I had some history with him, and I think that was kind of probably the biggest factor, and where he saw me and they were sliding into their organization, and it obviously didn't end up being the case. So I think that was probably the main factor. And obviously, like I said, it didn't end up being the case, but that's kind of part of life, right? Like you gotta find your way through and work your way through. And I think that was like a really good life lesson for me that year.
J'ai demandé à Daniel, dans le fond, si la participation au Golden Knights à la finale de la Coupe Stanley, la première année de l'organisation, si c'était une des motivations pour lui d'aller signer avec les Golden Knights. Ce qu'on s'est fait répondre, c'est que c'est pas nécessairement ça. C'est plus que Daniel avait une relation avec quelqu'un de l'organisation là, chez les Golden Knights qu'il connaissait bien comme joueur. Donc, c'est la raison principale pourquoi il a signé un contrat avec les Golden Knights.
Final question on Vegas, Daniel. We know in the first years till today, the Vegas fans are really, really good fan base. How did it felt to play in the T-Mobile Arena, if you did, with the fans rallying around this team, to put a contrast with Montreal fans?
And it's just different. Like, there's a DJ playing in warm up. There's, it's not like, you go into Montreal and you play in Montreal, it's like there's a history there. There's like Jean Beliveau. Like you can kind of just like feel the presence in the rink in Montreal. And kind of for me as like a hockey nerd, it was awesome. And Vegas is different. Like it's like there's a DJ playing a warm up, music's like it's like playing in a club. And it's just different. Like the fans are into it. They're kind of yelling at everything. And like I think my mom, when I got called up, my mom and my in-laws were on their way to Chicago to watch me play in the American League. So then my wife and everybody hopped on another flight to Vegas, and off they came. And I remember my mom was telling me she had to explain to the person next to her what offside was. So it's just different. And I mean, if someone's in the Bell Center and asks what offside is, I think the rest of the section will kick them out.
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate.
Yeah.
Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel de faire contraste un peu entre les partisans de Vegas et ceux du Canadien pour voir vraiment c'est comment une équipe qui est historique contrairement à une équipe qui est nouvelle. Puis il a dit c'est vraiment deux mondes différents. Il a dit à Montréal, tu t'en vas là, tu sais le côté historique, Jean Béliveau, entre autres, tout ça. Tandis qu'à Vegas, t'as un DJ qui joue de la grosse musique de bar ou de club pendant le warm-up. Et aussi, il y a des gens qui savent pas c'est quoi des hors-jeux sans manière dénigrée, bien évidemment. Là. Mais t'expliques à certaines personnes, comme la mère de Daniel a fait à un partisan expliquer c'est quoi un hors-jeu. Tandis qu'à Montréal, si quelqu'un demande c'est quoi un hors-jeu, comme il a dit, la rangée au complet va l'envoyer dehors de la rangée. Mais c'est vraiment deux mondes différents. Mais il a dit il a adoré ça dans les deux cas. Il y a vraiment un côté que c'est beaucoup plus historique comme le Canadien. Il y a un côté que c'est vraiment nouveau. Et c'est l'équipe de Vegas, rien avant Montréal, mais disant que tout le monde se range derrière les Golden Knights sans aucun doute. Il a même dit tantôt que quand l'aréna se remplit, c'est juste du monde de Vegas. Donc, Daniel, after that, you've gone to Nashville. Other team, other city. How did you feel when you put your feet in Nashville?
Yeah, that was a bit of a kind of a tough situation. So the year before, Vegas's American Hockey League team was in Chicago, and you played in Milwaukee because it's 45 minutes up the road 9 times or 10 times. And I had a good year. And so the Nashville was like first day of being able to talk in free agency was like, all right, we want this guy. But I had kind of like the year before I dislocated my shoulder out the back, and then I came back and played in playoffs, and then in playoffs I took a hit and I fractured the top of my tibia, and I tore my meniscus at the same time. So they didn't know if it was my meniscus or the top of my tibia giving me the problems. So I didn't end up getting meniscus surgery until like August 15th or something like that. So I showed up in Nashville on this on a one-way contract, slotted into play in Nashville, and it was not like the year before where it was just like, you're going to be a top depth guy for us. And I was slotted in to be on the team, and I just was not playing well. Like I just wasn't myself yet, and it took a long time for me to get back, and it took me like the whole year to get back to playing like myself. I made the team out of camp, got played 2 or 3 games, and just didn't play like I wanted to play. And then they put me on waivers, sent me to Milwaukee, and the year before having kind of ripping up the American League. I think I had 1 point and maybe a second assist in 6 games to start in Milwaukee, and I was like, well, So, but then eventually my game started to come back. I started to play really well. I got called up, and I scored once. I just couldn't catch a break though. Like I hit a bunch of posts, and it was just kind of one of those things. And so it was a good experience. It's a cool place to be. And, then the season got shut down for COVID, and I went back with the team after that for the bubble, and actually was playing back to how I wanted to play. It just, the team ended up losing in the play-in round at the bubble. So I never really got in the lineup, never got a chance to kind of show them what I could do. And it was just, I actually had a really good COVID training camp, and I would kind of work my way up. I was maybe next guy up, but you got to stick with the guys you got, and I get it. And it was a good experience though. So like that led to like me going to Washington the following year, because Laviolette was a coach in Nashville. He brought me to Washington. And, that was a great last experience in the NHL. My last game was a playoff game, and it was that year in Washington. It was a different situation for different reasons, but it was still a great experience and a kind of great way to end my North American career.
Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel c'était comment Nashville après avoir signé là-bas. Il a dit que l'année d'avant, il a subi une blessure quand même importante au haut du tibia. Et Guillaume, tu peux m'aider, je ne suis pas le meilleur dans les termes médicaux.
Un ménisque également. Là, donc,
ça,
on parle d'une blessure relativement majeure. Fait que c'est sûr que, comme Daniel dit, il n'a peut-être pas été lui-même pendant un certain temps. Là.
Exact. Donc, il a dit qu'il n'était pas assez lui-même pendant longtemps. Même dans son style de jeu après la blessure, il se demandait, il se cherchait encore, il savait que c'était pas lui qui était capable de jouer comme les années avant ça. Et en termes de chirurgie, on ne l'a pas opéré avant le 5 août. Il a signé avec l'équipe dans les coins de juillet. Donc, ça a été vraiment difficile. Il a connu un camp d'entraînement, pas comme il le voulait. Il a joué 3 matchs à Nashville, l'ont envoyé dans la Ligue américaine. Et où est-ce qu'il a recommencé tranquillement à reprendre son beat. Mais il a dit que même quand il marquait, c'était plus difficile. Il pognait souvent des poteaux, des tirs ratés. Mais vers la fin de la saison, il s'en reprenait. Il est allé dans la bulle faire les séries. Malheureusement pour lui, Nashville a sorti dans les play-in. Donc, il n'a pas pu assez se valoriser comme il l'aurait voulu avec les Preds. Mais après ça, Peter Laviolette est parti à Washington. Et il aimait bien Daniel, donc il a offert de l'emmener avec lui à Washington. Et c'est ce que Daniel a fait.
Daniel, we're going to speak about Washington a little bit. I know you played only 6 games there before going to Lugano. But I still got to know, like, there's a wild rumor, and maybe you saw something, and I think the people who are listening to us would like to know also, is it true that Alex Ovechkin drinks Dr. Pepper during games? Did you see something?
I don't know if it's Dr. Pepper. He's got like I think it might have a Coke or something.
That's what we were talking about before.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. But when you score that many goals, whatever you want to drink on the bench, you can drink whatever you want as far as
yeah. Coke, Dr. Pepper, smelling salts. Let's go power play on the left circle, righty. So I understand what you're saying. Like,
it's honestly like just watching that guy is incredible. So
yeah, and that was my follow-up question. Like, knowing that you played on the same ice on the same team as that legend for your last North American experience, did you took back some wild memories of playing with it?
Yeah, that year was actually really cool. I didn't get to play a lot, but Washington had that year, we had $4 in cap space, like $4, like 2. So I was like the 13th or 14th forward all year. And like the first bit I was like with the taxi squad. And then I was just like treated like I was on the team. I was with the team for the whole year. And, so I just didn't get to play much. And then like, I remember like Kuznetsov got COVID and Labby texted me. He's like, "Hey, Kuzi's got COVID. Good news. You get to play tonight." Because he got COVID. So he came off the salary cap so I could play. So that was, it was like a really cool experience actually. And like Washington's a cool place. You see why so many guys go there and just have amazing years. Like, when I was there, like it was like Chara, well, obviously Ovi, Backstrom, Oshie, Wilson, like Kuznetsov, like the list just goes on and on. Like Orlov, like that guy's incredible too. So like there's a lot of stars there. They're all great guys. They're all like very welcoming. They're just good dudes. Like I don't know how else to say that. They're just good dudes. Like, so it was a long year hockey wise, but it was just a cool year to be around. Like, so like, and then like to get to end on a playoff game for me was, and I actually had a really great game. So it was kind of a cool way to go out. And, yeah, it's just like I remember I'd always get jerseys at the end of the years and just get guys to sign them for me. And I remember like going into the office to order them in Washington, and I was like, I need this one. And I was
so many guys to choose from.
Yeah. And like the other thing you don't realize until you're on the ice with them every day, how good Tom Wilson is. Like, you think he's just a physical guy. He's a good hockey player. Like, like even if he wasn't that big, like just the plays he makes, like he's a good hockey player. So
I'm actually happy to hear about this. It's not my favorite player for probably same reason as a lot of fans, but I get what you're saying. Physical guy, power forward, makes me think a bit of a Pacioretty, but bigger. So, and probably more skills. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Do you guys want to translate that or no? Because I got another story.
Go ahead. Well, we'll
translate. I got a story about Tom Wilson. At the start of the year, I was mainly on just on the taxi squad. So we'd basically just practice on our own and do whatever. And it got competitive. Like we'd be playing hard because that was our thing. So Tom Wilson got suspended for a hit for 2 weeks or whatever it was. And so Willie would skate with us. And about 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I got a text from him and said, "Hey, what room we all lived in an extended stay right across the street from the practice rink." He said, "Wait, what room are you in?" I'm like, "This room." I'm like, what? He bought every guy on the taxi squad a custom pair of Air Jordans with your number on them. And he showed up and said, like, "Guys, I know how hard this has been for you. I just want to say, like, I appreciate what you're doing." He is a good man and a great teammate. So, like, he's awesome. Like, I played against him until you know him, you're like, this guy's like, get away from me. And then you get to know him and you're like, this guy's the best. So I appreciate what you're saying about him. But when you get to know him and you get to know, like, you talk to any guy who's ever played with Willie or gets to know him, he's a good man.
Yeah, I will not say a bad thing about Tom Wilson ever again.
Yeah, I'll join the train.
Talking about people who doesn't particularly is loved in Montreal, you talked about Daniel Carr, and I wanted to know also your feedback on him. Playing on Montreal, guys, some fans doesn't particularly loves him, and now you're his teammates. How did you live that down, and how did you got your relation with Zdeno Chara, knowing that what happened between him and Max Pacioretty?
So Z played his 1,500th game in Washington that year, I think, and he got every guy a custom mug with a personalized note on it, and he had been there for like 15 games, 20 games. And like, he's and like to go back, like I have all these jerseys at home that are just like really cool and special to me. I asked him to sign this, and he took it and goes, "Oh," I was like, "This is for me. Like, I'm not like this isn't for anything else." And he just took it, turned around so I couldn't see. Wrote like a personalized note on it that was just like so kind, and like he's a there's a reason he's been a captain in the National Hockey League forever. Like he's a good man, and I'm sure all those guys in Boston would tell you like that's who they learn to be a leader from. And you look how good a year they're having, and he's just like it's another one of those like Tom Wilson things where it's like, you know, on the ice he's one thing, but that's how he plays. But like I can guarantee you, Char never wanted to hurt anybody. He just wanted to play hard. So.
On a une grosse traduction, fait que je vais résumer ça un peu rapidement. On parlait de Washington, puis bon, ce que Daniel expliquait, c'est qu'il a fait partie du Taxi Squad majoritairement. Il a joué quelques matchs avec les Capitals. On a parlé d'Alex Ovechkin un peu.
Oui.
Bon, pas nécessairement du Dr Pepper dans sa gourde, mais peut-être du Coke, mais on confirme qu'il y a quelque chose que les autres joueurs ne boivent pas.
On confirme que c'est pas de l'eau.
Non, c'est ça, on confirme que c'est pas de l'eau, mais ce que Daniel disait, c'est que quand tu scores autant de buts, tu peux bien boire ce que tu veux, puis il a raison, dans le sens où tant que ça fonctionne, ça fonctionne. Smelling salts, Coke, let's go sur la glace, power play à gauche avec un droitier, fait que donc pour vrai, c'est merveilleux. Puis après ça, on a discuté justement de d'autres joueurs. Là, on a parlé de Tom Wilson. Daniel, ce qu'il expliquait, c'est que Tom a acheté, il avait été suspendu pour une mise en échec. Pendant ce temps-là, il a évolué sur le Taxi Squad pendant un bout. Puis Tom Wilson a acheté des souliers à tout le monde. Puis des Air Jordans en plus de ça, c'est pas n'importe quoi. Là.
Avec les numéros de chaque
joueur sur les souliers. Puis a dit à tout le monde, dont à Daniel, on apprécie ce que vous faites. On sait que c'est pas facile, donc voici le cadeau qu'on vous donne. C'est vraiment le fun de savoir un petit peu c'est quoi la personnalité de Tom Wilson à l'extérieur de la patinoire. On a discuté aussi de Zdeno Chara, parce qu'on sait, Lauric, que c'est pas le favori à Montréal chez les partisans pour une raison en particulier, mais au-delà de ça, comme Daniel l'explique, c'est que c'est un capitaine depuis toujours. Puis c'est pas pour rien que c'est un leader. Puis c'est pas la première fois que j'entends ça non plus de Zdeno Chara, puis ça me surprend pas vraiment, mais je suis content de voir que, tu sais, comme Daniel il dit, bon, il s'en va, il porte un chandail, il le fait signer, puis il écrit une petite note personnalisée, il a donné des tasses à tout le monde. Ça faisait juste comme une vingtaine de games que Chara était à Washington, avec des notes personnalisées pour tous les joueurs. Donc, vraiment, tu vois qu'à Washington, c'est un groupe tissé serré. Il a parlé de Dimitri Orlov aussi, il a parlé de Kuznetsov. Vraiment, là, il y a des noms à Washington qui sont là depuis longtemps. C'est pas pour rien. Là, ça a l'air d'être vraiment un très, très bel environnement là, du côté de Washington. Daniel, before we're going to talk about a little bit your career in Lugano, I was wondering, I'm going to ask you this question. If you had another chance in North America, maybe AHL, ECHL, or maybe a chance to come back in the National Hockey League, would you take it, or you're comfortable saying that now your career is in Lugano? And
I have 2 more years on my contract here. I like it here. It's the level of hockey is really good. It's a very different style. You know, I think that's a big what if question. So like I've talked to, just from keeping in touch with people, you know, the contacts I've made and guys I've become friends with. And, you know, I've had a few people ask me where my interest would be. Like if a few teams have wanted a guy kind of where I was the last couple of years in North America to be like top guy in the American Hockey League for them or in that realm and help their young guys. And if they need them in the NHL, they need me in the NHL, you know, I'd play a couple games, but I just like, I like it here. It's very different. It's I mean, it's dark out right now, so you can't see behind me, but there's 2 mountains behind me. That way's the lake. And it's I think today it was 15 degrees here. So, you know, it's a great place to go to the rink and work hard every day and get, get to play hockey every day, and it's so it's I like it here. It's we're in the Italian part of Switzerland, so it's an Italian culture here, and I enjoy it. Like I said, I think your question's got a lot of crystal ball answers. You're kind of a crystal ball, and I think we'll see where my hockey career continues to take me.
And is there, before I make the introduction of the first question, is there a big, cultural difference around hockey in Lugano? The fans, are they reacting in another way to their team playing? I know there's a lot of chants going on in the arena.
Yeah, they're
More of
passionate.
a soccer style of supporters. How did you appreciate the difference between North American fans and European fans?
Oh, they're passionate here. They'll let us know when they're not happy with us, and they do. We've kind of had a bit of a tough year. I've had a tough year personally with some health stuff, and it's they'll let us know, and they do. So like, if we lose, it takes me 10 minutes to go to the rink. So
Okay.
it's
Wow.
I got a lot of fans that answer questions too, and we lose. So it's a different hockey culture, and there's a lot of pressure on the imports. I kind of like that. So it's definitely different. Yeah.
All right. J'ai demandé à Daniel s'il avait une opportunité de revenir en Amérique du Nord pour disputer peut-être encore une ou deux saisons dans du hockey professionnel nord-américain, s'il le ferait. Ce qu'il a dit, c'est que présentement, il reste 2 ans son contrat avec Lugano. Donc, lui, il apprécie beaucoup de jouer en Europe. Il apprécie beaucoup de jouer en Suisse. C'est la partie italienne de la Suisse, d'après ce que j'ai compris. Puis, aime beaucoup la culture là-bas. Puis, aime les paysages. Là, justement, il disait, là, on ne voit pas parce qu'il fait noir derrière moi, mais il y a 2 montagnes derrière. Il y a un lac pas loin. Fait que vraiment, ça a l'air d'être une question de confort. Puis, ensuite, j'ai demandé, justement, par rapport à la culture du hockey en Europe, est-ce que ça a une grosse différence côté partisan entre, justement, celle de l'Amérique du Nord et celle de l'Europe? Puis c'est ça qu'on se fait répondre. C'est que les partisans en Europe, justement, c'est beaucoup plus un style de partisan qui pourrait se rapprocher au soccer. C'est des passionnés, ils chantent dans l'aréna. Puis comme Daniel l'a souligné, quand ils perdent, ils ont des questions à répondre aux partisans. C'est des comptes à rendre, mais c'est ça. C'est un autre genre de partisanerie. Donc, c'est super intéressant là, d'entendre ça de la part de Daniel.
Last questions for you, Daniel, before ending this podcast. You've played in a lot of teams in the NHL without getting disrespectful or whatever. Where did you get the more pleasure to play, and who was your favorite coach?
Ooh. I think I had a lot of really good coaches. I think, it's they all had kind of different styles, like I think even in Montreal, like Claude and Julian and Michel Therrien were very different. And then I went and I played in Vegas. Gerard Gallant was the coach, and then I had Lavi in Nashville and Washington. I think they were very different. I think, I struggled in some of the systems. I think like Lavi likes the 1-3-1. I really struggled, and I think that was why I kind of had a hard time scoring. I didn't really have enough time to figure it out, and nor did I expect to be given a lot of time to figure out. So that's not, please make sure that's like noted. But, I think I appreciated Michel Therrien in how he coached and what he demanded. And I think it's one of those things, back to your originally in the podcast, being 31 now, it's a lot easier to see things clearer than when you're just starting pro hockey. And I think my responses to my third year pro with Michel Therrien as the coach would have been a lot different. But like, it was, I think Mike appreciated how I played a lot, and I think he just wanted a little more out of me at some times. And I just kind of wasn't mature enough to understand that. But there were times when I was playing how I wanted to play, and Mike just kept putting me out there. So I think I have a lot of appreciation for him. And that's Lavi's awesome. Claude was great. I didn't really spend enough time in Vegas to know, but like those other guys I had in the National Hockey League were great. Lavi's an awesome guy. So yeah. So
and your favorite organization you play with?
I think I was in Montreal the longest, and I think Montreal would be my answer. And I think the main reason, probably the biggest reason would be what I said about Berge earlier is you can always work your way up with Berge. And as a player, kind of what else can you ask for? So I always appreciated that. Like I said, and looking at it as a 31-year-old, you can play yourself way down a lot faster, but that's on you. And so I got a lot of respect for that. And it's and then list of experiences I got to have in Montreal. I played my first game with them. I spent a lot of time with guys there, and it was I loved the city. I loved being there. I stayed out of trouble, so I didn't get in the nightlife wasn't really for a guy in my situation in the NHL. Like, you do something like that, you're gone the next day. So, but the restaurants were amazing. I got to do all those things, and it was an amazing life experience, something that I'll always cherish.
Donc, j'ai demandé à Daniel comme dernière question, quel était son coach préféré, son équipe préférée pour laquelle il a joué. Il m'a répondu, sans manquer de respect, bien évidemment, là, il m'a répondu que Michel Therrien était probablement le coach pour lequel il a le mieux aimé jouer. Mais Claude Julien, Peter Laviolette, il a dit que c'est des excellents coachs, soit dit en passant. Il a été très respectueux dans sa réponse. J'ai demandé aussi pour quelle équipe il a préféré jouer. J'avais des doutes pour Washington avec ce qu'il avait dit. Je ne sais pas pour toi, Guillaume.
Non,
mais il a répondu Montréal, parce que c'est avec eux avec qui il a joué le plus longtemps. Il a dit la raison de Marc Bergevin aussi, sa manière de voir les choses, comme quoi tu as toujours ta chance, peu importe t'es où dans l'organigramme, que tu sois le 14e attaquant à Montréal ou que tu sois à Laval, tu as toujours une chance de faire l'équipe avec Bergevin. Puis aussi le lifestyle, on pourrait dire, de Montréal avec les restaurants et tout. Il a dit que Montréal, ça a vraiment été son organisation préférée. Daniel, it was a pleasure to have you on the podcast and take us throughout your hockey career. It was amazing. Thanks a lot, Daniel.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Goodbye, Dan.
All right. Bye.
Alors, Guillaume, tu as trouvé ça comment d'avoir Daniel Carr avec nous sur le podcast?
J'ai adoré. J'ai été content d'avoir quelques anecdotes de sa part. Je le connaissais comme joueur, je le connaissais pas personnellement, donc c'est sûr que pour moi, un de mes joueurs favoris quand il jouait avec le Canadien, c'est fou pour moi là, d'avoir cette proximité-là avec un ancien du CH comme ça. Donc, j'ai vraiment adoré l'expérience du podcast.
Alors, merci d'avoir regardé ce podcast-là. Ça a été un plaisir de vous emmener avec nous, y compris dans la carrière de Daniel Carr, dans tous les coulisses de la Ligue nationale de hockey. On a bien hâte de lire vos commentaires aussi. Si vous avez bien aimé ce concept-là d'avoir des anciens de la Ligue nationale de hockey. Si oui, écrivez-nous en commentaire des anciens joueurs de la Ligue nationale de hockey qui jouent en Europe, que vous aimeriez qu'on tente de faire une entrevue avec lui. Ça va être un plaisir de voir les suggestions, de répondre à vos commentaires. Sur ça, c'était Guillaume Lemieux-Noel en compagnie de moi-même, Lauric Salvail, et on vous souhaite une bonne journée. Salut tout le monde.